I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're exploring an incredible tale of compassion and courage with Emilio Iodice. And he's written a powerful book. It is called My Soldier, A Story of True Love. This touching narrative transports us to an Italian island during World War II, where an American soldier's life is transformed by the innocence of a young girl named Maria. Right now, we will uncover the layers of love, freedom, and human connection in this unforgettable story. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Emilio, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you for the invitation.
Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to share this story of an American soldier and his life-changing relationship with a young girl.
I was always concerned about World War II. I'm an historian. I'm also a presidential historian. I've written books about US presidents, but I was particularly interested about the Anzio invasion since my family comes from that island, the island of Ponza. Mm-hmm. And as I delved into discussions with my aunts and uncles, I wanted to discover from them their firsthand impressions of what happened after the invasion. The island itself, during the war period from early 43 into 45, suffered immensely from the war, as most of Italy did. The people were starving. And as my aunts and uncles told me, they said people were in terrible anguish until the Americans came. Then the Americans landed on the island, and they began to tell me all the different things that happened and how everything turned around. And then this wonderful story about this little girl who, by chance, meets this American major who was in charge of the logistics of feeding the thousands of people that were starving on this island. He meets this little girl and their lives change. Everything changes.
Yeah. Amazing. It's an amazing story. It's amazing that it's true. That was the role of the American soldier in many ways during World War II. They were coming from all walks of life from the United States. There with the mission, obviously, to stop Hitler and stop the invasion of Europe, but also to spread kindness and love and charity. And that is the part of the story I think you've really hit upon that's going to resonate not only with historians and people interested in World War II, but people who are concerned about today's global issues as well.
Yes, it's really a story that transcends time. And it's about our humanity and about generosity and compassion. It's very much an American story in the sense that as the Nazis were plundering Italy and all of Europe and taking food and all the valuables they could, the Americans came in with millions of tons of food, clothing, and anything that they could to save the people of Europe. And this particular island is a microcosm of that story, of that generosity, that compassion, and that courage, because it took a tremendous amount of courage to do this as well.
Absolutely. This, I think, would be a terrific movie. Have you thought about that at all? Some director picking up your book and wanting to transform it into something on film?
I do. In fact, that's my dream.
Yeah.
I want to see the story and the characters come to life again. Because, Logan, it's about our values as people, as Americans, as human beings, also as Europeans that love freedom. It's all about that. And it's a pure love story, but it's set in war. And war is what we're facing today in so many different theaters. So this particular book is a timely book, and it's one that's also for this new generation of young people. And that's why I would love to see it in the form of a movie or even a series, because of what it tells us and what it will tell us in the future. Because really, it's a beacon. It's a lighthouse as to what may be up ahead, what we should be doing, in order to bring back that sense of compassion, generosity, and humanity that is essential to America, that really is part of our soul.
Exactly. And soldiers in the United States and beyond often get a bad rap. I mean, look at how they were treated when they came back from Vietnam. So you capturing the human side of soldiering, I think, is a great service to the men and women who literally put their lives on the line for our country.
Absolutely. And that's also the purpose of this book, to tell us about them, about their feelings, about their sensations, their fears, their worries, as they did all of this. But it also exalts them, exalts them as heroes and heroines, because they gave so much for all of us. They gave their lives, and they gave everything that they possibly could in order to save us and to save others.
Exactly. And like I said earlier, these were not professional soldiers. These were men and boys, really, that were taken from the United States. They were doing maybe in school, doing different jobs, and they were sent overseas. I know my father was. I presume your father might have been from that same generation. Did your father
Absolutely.
serve overseas as well?
My father was an Italian immigrant, living in a small Italian enclave in the South Bronx. But even though he was an immigrant and he still wasn't an American citizen, they trusted him with civil defense. So my father was involved in civil defense during the war and protecting the homeland during that particular period. But we had so many relatives, of course, American relatives, as well as Italian relatives that were in the war. So we knew of so many people that suffered from it, and that came back with amazing stories. And it was those amazing stories that helped me write this book.
Wonderful. And you've added to the book, the Global Book Award edition of your book has new chapters, new insights. Tell us about that.
It does. My readers, thousands of people have read the book already, which made it a bestseller. And my readers asked me to embellish on this particular story. They said, tell us more about the soldier, who he was, where he came from. So even though I've kept his name out of the story because I wanted to protect the privacy, but we have found where that soldier is today, by the way. And that little girl is still alive. But what I added to the book was a bio about this young man. He was 28 when he was sent to war. He participated in the Sicily and the Salerno invasions, and he made it through Anzio. And he had left a job. He was a graduate of engineering in a university in New York. He left a wonderful position in order to enroll in the armed forces, and became a major in a very short period of time. So he was an amazing individual. And this little girl is alive today.
Amazing.
This little girl still has memories of those moments and those days. And so all of that I felt needed to be put together in this new edition. And it's become very successful, but it's not a matter of selling books because I donate the royalties to charity. I'm more concerned about the values that we project, and there are values, and each and every one of us are in that book. We can identify with the people in the story.
Absolutely, absolutely, for sure. And so many Americans have roots in Italy. My father's family was from the Lombardy region and emigrated here to the United States. And you know, probably there are more Italian Americans than there are Italians in Italy at this point, much like there's
Yes.
more Irish Americans than there are Irish in Ireland. Tell us a little bit about your research. It must have been fascinating. It started out by asking a series of questions to people about what it was like, but then you started to drill down on this specific story. Tell us about that.
I was interested in facts. I was interested in really accumulating facts I knew that the story was going to be fiction because the information I could get was sort of a skeleton and I had to put some muscle on it, so to speak. But I was interested in the facts, and there was so much about Operation Shingle, which was the Anzio invasion, so many details about that in the archives of the U.S. Department of Defense. So I spent days and days and months digging into information there. And then I gradually pieced together the connection to the island, as speaking with the people on the island and also speaking to people in the United States that participated in the invasion. So all these parts were sort of like dots that I put together in order to write the book. And the book is inspired by true stories.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I know you're a prolific writer. This is not your first book, of course. Are you working on anything right now?
I am. I'm working on a somewhat of an autobiography, so to speak. I've been asked by my readers to write more about myself and my boyhood, so to speak. So I'm pulling some of those things together and coming up with childhood memories and stories that I know people will identify with. And again, it's all about our values of liberty, freedom, and growing up in various challenges and various conditions that each and every one of us can identify with. So that's my next venture. Well, thank you for asking.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's been a life well lived, so we can't wait to hear your story. Were you raised in the Bronx where your dad emigrated to?
Yes, I was there in the South Bronx in this enclave of people from the island of Ponza. There probably were about 25,000 people living there in New York City. We didn't speak any English, by the way.
Wow.
I didn't speak English until I was 6 years old, and spent the first 10, 11 years of my life there. And then we moved to the North Bronx.
Mhm.
And then after university, graduate school, and so forth, I moved to Washington. I was in the diplomatic corps and did a variety of things as an executive, as an educator, and so forth. But my roots were really there in that particular part of New York City. And those roots were strong. They're solid.
Yeah, it's a great part of New York City. I went to college in the Bronx at Fordham University,
So did
so
I,
I'm
by the
very.
way. We're alumni of Fordham. Both
Oh,
of us.
okay. Okay, class of 1984. That's me.
68,
Well, I
68.
can't believe that. That's hard to believe. Amazing. Well, you look great. I hope I look as good as you do. I'll do the math later, but X number of years later for sure.
Thank you,
You're
Lord.
looking great. The book is terrific. It's written by Emilio Iodice. He has penned a story that is completely unforgettable. It is called My Soldier, A Story of True Love. It's a touching book that transports us back to an Italian island during World War II, where an American soldier's life is transformed by the innocence of a young girl named Maria. Wonderful book, true story, meticulous research, written by a fantastic author. Emilio, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.